Okay, so you're going to talk about being a ward of the state. What can you share with us about that experience, Ray, from what you can remember? I understand you were very young.
Right. To start off with, I was born in Paddington, New South Wales, which is half an hour away from King's Cross. So you've got King's Cross, half an hour away over there. That's where I come from. It was called Paddington, New South Wales. My mother, at a young age, she was in her 20s. She gave birth to me. She didn't want me after a while, so I was about 2 months, roughly. I was about 2 months old when she decided she didn't want me for whatever reasons it is. So the police kept telling her, you can't leave this baby laying around. So to cut a long story short, she handed me into the welfare. The welfare got me in Shepparton. Then they handed me over to the Shepparton welfare, handed me over to the welfare in the city in Melbourne, to an orphanage right next door to the zoo back in those days.
Was known as Tirana, I believe.
Well, Tirana was one of the orphanages, but I was in the orphanage side. Tirana, don't get this wrong, Tirana is for the boys' home, for naughty boys, and the orphanage is for unwanted babies. That's where I was put.
And as I believe that no longer exists anymore, it's called the Juvenile Justice Centre.
That's right, but it's still, to this day, it's still there. The orphanage isn't because it's closed down, but the boys' home is.
Do you have any recollection or memories at all about your experience?
No, I don't. But the good thing about it all, when you're awarded a state, you get this big folder. If you're lucky to get it all documented, I asked for my folder, and it's called the ward card.
Yeah.
And this is from the government. This folder here documents everything about
what happened in your past
when I was a little boy. And I'm so blessed to have this folder because it fills in the gaps. It tells me what my natural mother that gave birth to, what she done wrong, and how come I ended up in the orphanage.
So it's a history of your
life
up until a certain point.
That's right.
Do you remember when you finally got fostered out?
I was 2 years old when I got fostered out to people in Thomastown.
And when did you finally get adopted? Or did you get adopted by these people?
I was shipped off to Thomastown back in the 70s. I was 2 years old. I got fostered out at age 2, and then I got adopted at age 6.
And do you remember anything pleasant about that experience?
No, I don't. I'm not going to go into the adopted side of the family because it's all bad.
It was very traumatic, wasn't it?
Exactly. All I can say is I stayed with this family till I was age 13, ran away from home, ended up going to Wangaratta. Coppers got me and they shipped me back to Thomastown at age 13, and then by the age of 16 I was legally old enough to leave that house of horrors.
When you say you headed towards Wangaratta, was there any particular reason why you chose that direction?
I went to Wang because you wouldn't believe it or not, but this is how I seen it. I had a beautiful nana. She was only a little lady, and she had a beautiful heart. She spoiled me. When I met my nana, my adopted nana, we got on like a house on fire. That's why I went to Wang. I was going to stay with nana.
And that's a fair distance from Thomastown. How did you make your way to Wangaratta?
Well, I rode my little Malvern. For you people that don't know, this is a Malvern Star push bike dragster. I rode that from Thomastown all the way up to Epping, and then all the way up Donnybrook Road, across the Hume Highway, and I hitchhiked with the truckies, and they gave me a lift from Calcallo to Wang.
And once you got there, what happened then?
Well,
did you manage to get to your grandmother?
No, I didn't because unfortunately, and the truckie that picked me up, he had kids. I was only 13, and he said, "Mate, I'm sorry. I had to ring the police," and that's why he pulled up the semi in Wang, and the coppers were right on his. When I got out of the truck, the coppers were right there, and I looked at him and went, "Coppers, you didn't do what I think you did you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did, mate." I said, "So you've told the coppers that I've come to Wang, yeah?" And he goes, "I'm sorry, I've got kids too. I wouldn't want my kids floating around at age 13. Anyway, they arrested me, took me back to the cop station, sat me in the chair and said, "Sit there, your dad's on the way to pick you up."
And what were your thoughts? Do you remember what your thoughts or feelings were at that point?
Yeah. I mean, big shit.
So you were quite fearful.
Oh, yeah. My old man that adopted me, he was a no-nonsense bloke. If he told you to shut up and you didn't shut up, well...
So what happened after that? Your father or your parents picked you up?
I can't go too much into detail. All I can say is he wasn't happy when he picked me up, and it took 3 hours to drive to Wang back in the 70s. So it took him 3 hours to get there and 3 hours back home.
Do you remember what happened once you got home, or is that too horrible to talk about?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that because it was too traumatised.
So did you try and run away again after that experience?
No, I didn't, because the simple reason was that I knew what was going to come of it all. There's no point in running away when you just get put back in the home again. I just waited till I was 16. Legally, the copper said to me, "You can leave this house, but you've got to be 16, have a job, and have a roof over your head." So I waited until I was 16. I got a job. My first job was working in Australia Post. So age 16, I had a job. I was living at my mate's house, and I could pay my own way, and I got the hell out of Dodge.
Wow, you must have felt so much relief.
I did, but I was traumatised. I'm not going to go into the trauma I went through living with that foster family.
Did you have a home to live in once you did get that job?
No, I lost a job age 16 because I wasn't mentally or physically right in the brain at that age. I lost that job. I went from job to job to job. Back in the 70s, you could work there and then you could walk down the street and get another job. So that snowballed from job to job to job, and then after all that, I ended up living down St Kilda on the streets.
No. Okay, we'll end that conversation there for now, and we'll take another view of your life, another section of your life on another video.